Hi, my name's Tim Reed, real estate agent in the Calgary area. Another month has gone by already, and we're here with another market update for the month of June 2026. It's going to be great to get into the stats with you guys again today, show what that means for you as a buyer, what that can mean for you as a seller, depending where you are in Calgary, and what the market looks like across the greater Calgary region. Looking forward to getting into it. See you in a minute. So this is what's going on with the overall stats here in Calgary, what's happened here in June 2026. Sales overall on average down 3.8% year over year. That might seem like a lot, but overall looking at all property types, that's not that big of an impact. We're still in a balanced market compared to what's going on the previous month in May, and now we're headed into July, the beginning of summer, seeing your typical seasonal adjustments going on as well. So new listings, here is the interesting part is that inventory has gone way down year over year, almost 8% less. That's a significant amount of homes less this year versus last year that are currently on the market. So what that means is that there's way less homes for sale have come on the market versus what we were looking at last year. Total residential price, that's averaging all property types together, and we're going to go over each one of the property types that break them down. Different trends depending on what type of property we're talking about here in the Calgary region. So 2.1% down on the price for the overall residential price average. And looking at detached homes year over year, 1.4% difference has lowered here. Semi-detached actually went up a little bit year over year, a very modest price gain there. Row houses down 5.5%. That's a pretty significant change in that area. And condos. Of course, we're seeing a lot of downward trend on pricing for apartment condos because they're very saturated right now. Lots of them for sale, lots of new developments are taking place. So that means that prices are going to start to trend down because there's a lot more choice, lots of properties for sale, not that many buyers for condos compared to the inventory available. So we're seeing downward pressure on that asset class here right now. And total months of supply up by 1.8%, just a little bit higher than last month. Higher months of supply, meaning there's 3 months of supply of all the property types. If all of them sold, immediately, it would take 3 months at the current trends. So I just want to talk about a little bit. So basically detached homes, the decrease in inventory sort of offset any other price changes. So the price levels are holding fairly strong. Inventory levels are very balanced for the amount of buyers in the market right now. New home construction is pulled back, so that's keeping the flow of inventory of new homes going into the market, not oversaturating the market and not creating too much properties for sale. And semi-detached, that's where we've seen that little bit of a price gain. Row prices, sales to listing ratio. So basically, there was a lot more properties that came on the market in that particular category, which is not absorbing as quickly, which is pushing the prices down a little bit there in that category. And condos, where we talked about lots of inventory, that's pushing the prices down there. Lots of inventory supply in the condo apartment market, which is creating a slower moving market. Not that condos aren't selling, they are selling, but there's more price pressure and they're taking longer to sell just because there's lots of choice in the market. People are going to look at six or 10 properties because they can look at condos very similar in size and pricing all across Calgary. So they've got lots of options to look at, taking them a bit longer to make a decision for that particular property type. So here we're looking at the benchmark pricing for each community. So in the north side here, 529,000 year over year, gone down 4.5%. There's a lot of new properties up in the new northwest and the new northeast. Again, lots of inventory, lots of supply, demand's a little bit lower, starting to see prices trend down. And in the new northeast, this is the big trend here, massive price drop here year over year and this, of course, is an average. There's still $800,000 homes in this corridor of Calgary, and there's still $700,000 homes in this price category as well. Just the average has come down quite a bit because there's, again, lots of new construction there, lots of condo sales happening there in the Northeast, which those are lower priced homes, and they're dropping the price of a lot of those properties, and they're seeing longer market exposure times to get those properties sold through. So city center held very strong, 1.3%, price differential year over year. And in the southwest is our most desirable area in Calgary, and it's holding It's priced level very well. Actually, a little bit of an uptick year over year. That corridor has the strongest, strongest price protection and faster properties sales in there. A little bit more competition going on in those neighborhoods. Very strong, corridor of Calgary from a pricing standpoint. They hold their value when other things change. You see a lot more stability in Southwest Calgary. I'm looking down into the new Southwest, new Southeast. You're seeing prices stay relatively stable in the new Southwest, and then the new Southeast, very, a bit of a change there, 3.5% year over year change, price gone down. And then in the east end of Calgary, seeing significant change there. A lot of inventory came on the market there. Lots of, action going on there. Price, the sellers are having to compete to get their property sold. So prices are trending downwards. People are sort of competing against each other to get those buyers. So that's putting some downward pricing on that corridor of town here in Calgary. Now I'd like to look at the 10-year trends. So what's going on in total sales here in Calgary? Here's the red trend line here for what's happened in the last 10 years. And you're seeing, row houses creep up to that 10-year average, apartments well below the sales average there. Detached still below 10-year averages there, so that means there's room in the room for growth still in pricing, as the stats show us for single family homes, seeing steady incremental price growth in that category. And breaking it down by each property type, detached sales still below the 10-year average here. Uh, and then new listings starting to get to the place up to the trend line there for the 10-year average. Inventory is getting there, but not oversupplied, versus 10-year averages. Still seeing balanced conditions there, and that's part of the indication is we've got inventory and buyers relatively even, Steven, in that particular type of property for detached. And moving on to apartment, this is the story. So this is what causes apartment sales pricing to be going down, days on market to be going up, is because you look at the 10-year trend line, we've got an inventory supply way above, typical amount of sales. So that's why prices are trending down for apartment condos. And semi-detached, that's why we're starting to see that price drop in semi-detached because that inventory has spiked up above the 10-year average so that you're seeing a lot more competition. You're seeing a lot of builders, starting to drop some prices as well a little bit for that property type because they need to get them to sell through so they can move on to the next project. And that's why you're seeing some price compression in semi-detached. And row house sales. So small price correction with semi-detached and row house inventory just jumped above that 10-year trend line by a significant amount. From a listings perspective, it jumped up over that bar by quite a bit. So that's where we're going to see some more buyers market conditions for row houses in particular, because we're oversupplied versus your 10-year averages. So then we've got more competition for those buyers. That sellers are going to have to be a little more creative, be a little more competitive on their pricing, and or be a little more patient for those properties to sell through. They're going to take a little bit longer at those higher price points, and the property has to be in better condition, has to be in a great area, more choices. People are going to look at those more desirable areas with great amenities, good schools, close to shopping. Brand new areas which don't quite have those amenities developed, those prices are going to have a little bit more compression and more competition, especially for uh, resale properties that aren't brand new. Of course, they're going to have a little more price flexibility than a brand new home because the builder has a fixed, profit margin they have to work with. And as I always like to end and feature a community here in Calgary, talk a little bit about it. So if you want to know more about this community or more about these statistics, I can send you a copy. If you want to know what's going on in the Calgary area, what your house might be worth, what your first property might cost if you're a first-time home buyer, or if you're looking to move to Calgary and you want to know more about all these communities, different areas, and things to do in the Calgary area that could benefit you and your family, reach out to us at the number and information below. We'd love to have a one-on-one discussion with you. But today I wanted to talk about Springbank Hill. So this is a community just south of Aspen Woods and Aspen Estates. The Southwest, as I said earlier in the video, has got a lot of strength in the pricing, holding strong. Sellers being in the driver's seat from a seller's market position, and they're talking about these types of communities. So Springbank Hill is a very large community of mostly estate homes. They're big, beautiful homes. We're talking about 1 million plus, all the way up to three and 4,000, 5,000 square foot homes. These are luxury properties in this area. I would I would say more than 70% of those homes weren't built on spec. So what does that mean? That means they were built custom. So there were people that bought a lot, hired a developer, a luxury home builder to build them a custom home. So it was built exactly to their specifications, exactly they wanted it, with amenities that they wanted in there, with pools, mountain views, steam saunas, wine cellars, games rooms, theater rooms. These are features that are very common. Big, beautiful gardens, excellent designed landscape architects design the backyards and landscaping in these particular homes. They have a lot of unique features. Home office is almost a given for most of these properties because they're executives that built them, highly successful business owners, medical professionals, lawyers live in this area. They love this neighborhood. It's centrally located. It's close to all these amenities. Lots of great shopping and restaurants nearby. And for their children, private schools. Some of the top private schools are located within a 5-minute drive of this community. And it used to be almost out of town. Calgary's grown in this direction quite a bit over the last 10 to 15 years. This is a highly desirable area of Calgary. Also, lots of great golf courses nearby for the summertime and lots of amenities and very easy commute to downtown and elsewhere in Calgary as well. No matter where they're looking to commute, this is a very central, very convenient community to live in. So Springbank Hill, that's our feature for the community list here today for the June market update. And I want to talk a little bit about things to do in Calgary. And it's the big thing to do is the Calgary Stampede. It's just starting to open their gates to everyone. The crowds and lines are going into the Calgary Stampede to watch the rodeo, to get the snacks and different, food features from food trucks all over the Calgary Stampede this year. And if you want to know more about that and tricks of the trade to be able to get the most out of Stampede for your family, if you live here or if you're coming here for the first time, please let us know and get a hold of us with the information below. My name is Tim Reed. See you in the next video.